Some powers awaken in the most desperate of moments. Kira barely survived in a world twisted by the Lycan hierarchy. The chill clung to her skin, a constant reminder of her place. Alone in the shadows, she crouched in a corner, clutching her knees to her chest. Blood. The metallic scent filled her nostrils, a bitter reminder of the violence that surrounded her, the abuse she endured. Scars crisscrossed her body, marks of neglect, signs of survival. At 23, she was still an Omega. Small, vulnerable, but somewhere deep inside, a flicker of rebellion burned bright. Today was different. The pack gathered in the vast clearing, flickering torches casting eerie shadows on their faces. Thunder rumbled in the distance. The air was thick with anticipation, fear crackling like electricity. Kira stood among the others, her heart racing. Whispers filled the night, murmurs of the Alpha King's arrival. Then he appeared. Valdrin, tall, imposing, a storm wearing human skin. He moved through the pack like a hurricane, the temperature dropping with each step. Those piercing eyes, cold steel, scanned the crowd, landing on Kira. She wanted to look away, to disappear into the ground, but something held her there. His presence was magnetic, terrifying. Power radiated from him. His first act shattered the silence, a brutal display of dominance. With a swift motion, he severed his own finger. Gasps erupted. Kira's stomach churned. Blood poured, saturating the ground, pooling like dark secrets beneath them. Madness reigned. She could feel the pack watching, breathless, awaiting the revelation. It was a test, a twisted ceremony. Loyalty was demanded in the most grotesque way. "Consume it," he commanded, his voice smooth, low. "Prove your loyalty." Panic surged inside her. The pack's eyes bore into her, hungry for spectacle, eager for blood. Kira trembled. If she defied him, she would face their wrath. If she complied, she would be consumed by their contempt. She wanted to scream, to fight against the suffocating expectations that gripped her chest, but terror rooted her to the spot. Kira's mind screamed for escape. Her heart raced, pounding against her ribcage like a caged animal. What choice did she have? Obey. Submit. Desperation twisted her stomach as she approached. The severed digit glistened, blood slick and raw. It felt wrong, too intimate, too vile. But then something shifted. A wave of energy surged through her. It was primal, ancient, a recognition of power that had been buried deep within. As she complied, the moment she consumed it, a light erupted from her. Glowing warmth enveloped her body. Whispers turned to gasps. Shock rippled through the crowd. She could feel her spirit awakening, flickering to life like a flame in the darkness. Valdrin's gaze sharpened. No longer cold and calculating, it sparkled with intrigue. Encouragement? Recognition? Kira lifted her chin, feeling the rebirth of strength flowing through her. What am I becoming? A beacon? A chance for rebellion? Or simply a new target for the pack? Would this newfound power condemn her or free her? Doubt twisted in her gut as the pack shifted uneasily. Could they embrace this new energy? Could she? The fragile light radiating within felt like a promise. It ignited defiance, but a force pulled at her heart. Valdrin. He watched, assessing her transformation with predatory precision. What was this connection brewing between them? The landscape of her life shifted, the dawn of change just beyond the horizon, and she could feel the tug of destiny entwining their fates. Kira could no longer just be a scapegoat, not in the presence of this newfound magic. But what if the magic unleashed within her only served to complicate everything? What would she risk to discover her true place in this world? A glance caught Valdrin's eye. He stepped closer, a silent challenge throbbing in the air. Their destinies were now intertwined. She was no longer lost. But would she harness this power for herself, or let it consume her entirely? The truth felt close, but the path to it remained shrouded in uncertainty. In the aftermath of that night, Kira's world spun on a new axis. The glow that flickered within her brought both exhilaration and fear. The pack's whispers echoed around her, a constant reminder. They were not yet ready for what she had become. She stood in the shadows of Castle Draconis, every corner of the stone walls heavy with history, secrets of the Lycan hierarchy. It suffocated her. Only a week ago, she had simply been the invisible servant, losing herself in the daily grind of washing floors, scrubbing dishes, and enduring the scorn of those above her. But now? Now she could no longer ignore the power humming just beneath her skin. The scars on her body held stories of suffering and neglect, but it was her spirit that needed to heal. Kira remembered her childhood, gleeful days spent in the forests, hidden from pack watch. She had been free then, even amidst the shadows. Orphaned at a young age, she had learned to fend for herself. The pack's cruelty was suffocating, but she found pockets of survival in solitude. Nature had called to her, and when the winds howled, she felt a connection deeper than flesh, a whisper of magic intertwined with her very being. And then there was the Alpha King. Valdrin's presence unsettled her in ways she hadn't anticipated. She thought back to his gaze, the intensity, the way he seemed to peel back layers, searching for something deep within her. She could sense his struggle too. He had to maintain the ruthless image of a king, yet something about her sparked a glimmer of humanity. The tension between duty and desire simmered beneath the surface. Days turned to nights as Kira trained in secret, each pulse of power integrating into her being. She could manipulate shadows now, play with the air around her. It felt intoxicating, but the magnitude of her abilities frightened her. What if she couldn't control it? What if it consumed her? The hierarchy still loomed large. The whispers grew louder in the pack. The elders felt threatened. They'd seen the transformation and feared rebellion, a reclaiming of power that had long been stripped away. Kira knew the pack's eyes were on her, resentful and wary. Some felt she did not belong. Others saw her as a rival. One fateful evening, a challenge presented itself. Kira traversed the castle grounds, where darkness clung heavily. The ground beneath her feet felt alive, vibrating with energy. Foreshadowing? She sensed it. The air crackled, as if warning her of the confrontation waiting ahead. "Look who decided to show up," a voice sneered from the shadows. It was Roderick, a member of the council, eyes sharp, filled with disdain. He stepped forward, flanked by a couple of pack enforcers. Kira stood tall, refusing to shrink under their judgment. "What do you want?" she demanded, heart racing against her chest. His laughter cut through the cold night air. "We want to remind you of your place. You think you're special now? Just because the king eyed you?" His eyes flicked to the others, carnivorous grins creeping onto their faces. "You're still just an omega. You serve us." And there it was, the weight of oppression pressing down on her. Kira's gut twisted, but something awakened inside her, a spark from within the light she had harnessed. "I'm not your pawn," she hissed, taking a step forward. "I will not let you dictate who I am, not anymore." The challenge hung between them, charged with tension. "You dare defy tradition?" Roderick spat. "You're meddling with powers beyond your comprehension." With that, the air grew thick with menace. Shadows flickered and danced around her, bending to her will. She didn't fully understand what was happening, but the power surged. It didn't feel like just magic. It felt like reclaiming a piece of herself she thought lost forever. "Enough!" A commanding voice boomed, causing the air to ripple. Valdrin stepped into view, his presence larger than life. He assessed the scene, fierce determination in his eyes. "Step back, Roderick. I will not have this." "She thinks she can redefine her place," Roderick replied, still sneering. "She's a threat, my king." "No," Valdrin stated firmly, his gaze locking onto Kira. "She's more than what you think. I see what she can become." Hesitation filled Kira's heart. Would her power stir conflict between them? And would she belong in a world where she fought to be seen, respected? She felt Valdrin's eyes pierce through her defenses, igniting the promise of unity. Valdrin extended his hand, palm up, the subtle invite charged. Kira blinked, overwhelmed. "You're not alone, Kira. Not anymore. Embrace what you are. Stand by my side." Could she? Could she truly step into the light of her heritage? As doubt flickered through her mind, Kira took a breath. The path would not be easy. She would face enemies and allies alike. But perhaps this moment was a turning point, a chance to forge her destiny. With a nod, she took his hand, and in that gesture, a spark ignited, connecting them. Together, They would confront the tides of tradition, challenge the very hierarchy that sought to bind her close. The rebirth had begun, but what awaited them beyond the dawn? The ground trembled as Kira clasped Valdrin's hand, the bond between them solidifying in that electric moment. Energy surged, threads of power weaving through the air, igniting a sense of urgency. As Roderick and his enforcers backed away, the whispers of the pack faded into a murmur. Kira could feel their eyes, some full of caution, others fueled by intrigue. But she was no longer afraid. The light within her burned brightly, challenging the darkness that had cloaked her for too long. Valdrin's gaze remained steady, a promise lingering in his eyes. "We will not be bound by their expectations," he declared, his voice reverberating through the clearing, echoing like thunder. "Tonight marks the beginning of a new chapter." There was power in his words, a sense of purpose that enveloped her. Kira nodded, determination blossoming in her chest. The path ahead wasn't clear, but for the first time, she felt optimistic. Together, they would dismantle the shackles of tradition. But how to begin? Whispers of dissent still lingered in the corridors of Castle Draconis, and Roderick was not the only one who felt threatened by her ascent. Some in the pack would do anything to maintain the status quo. Days passed, and Valdrin kept close, guiding her through both the rigors of training and the intricacies of pack politics. Under his tutelage, Kira learned to harness her abilities, summoning shadows and twisting elements to her will. Each successful manipulation filled her with joy, a glimmer of hope that perhaps she could truly change her fate, not just for herself, but for every Omega under the pack's thumb. However, not every encounter brought acceptance. Kira faced resistance from Roderick and his allies, those unwilling to lose their grip on power. The enforcers watched her each day with eyes full of disdain, whispers trailing her like shadows. Kira often felt their malice like a physical presence, pushing back against her newfound resolve. Roderick was relentless, looking for any weakness to exploit. One evening, as Kira practiced her abilities in a secluded glade, the air shifted. A tingling sensation prickled at her neck, warning her of impending danger. She turned just as Roderick emerged from the trees, flanked by a few enforcers. The atmosphere thickened, tension clinging heavily. "Practicing your magic, are we?" he sneered, a sinister grin creeping across his face. What a joke. Kira stood tall, determination coursing through her veins. "I'm no longer afraid of you, Roderick." A malevolent chuckle escaped his lips. "You think you can stand against me? Against this pack? You'll learn, Kira. Power has its price." "Not all power comes at a cost," she countered, the shadows around her increasing in intensity, swirling like a tempest. "You don't understand what I can become." In a blur, Roderick lunged, clashing with her newly summoned shadows. Kira braced for impact, feeling the rush of power surge through her, ready to defend herself. The dark tendrils expanded, wrapping around him, pushing him back as he stumbled. He laughed, the sound dangerously cold. "You'll pay for that insolence. They won't accept a monster among them. Who are you to judge what I am?" Kira fired back. "You're the real monster here." Her words struck a nerve. Roderick's fury ignited, but just as he was about to retaliate, Valdrin intruded, his presence commanding and powerful. "Enough," he barked, stepping between them. His energy radiated authority, causing Roderick to falter. "You will not harm her. She should be silenced before she riles the pack," Roderick insisted, eyes dark and resolute. "The council will question you, King. You invite rebellion with every moment you tolerate this threat." "That threat is my decision to manage," Valdrin stated firmly, his gaze not leaving Kira. She felt a rush of gratitude surging through her. "I will not allow the past to dictate our future." Roderick scoffed, the tension crackling like fire. "Mark my words, King. The pack will rise against her, and you." With that, Roderick retreated, a lurking shadow of defiance. Kira's heart raced. The challenge was far from over, but as Valdrin stood beside her, support radiating from him, she felt a conviction blooming within. "Together," Kira said quietly, though the words felt monumental. "Always," Valdrin replied, his voice imbued with strength. That unity forged a new purpose, building alliances, finding supporters within the pack who believed in her vision. Each day, Kira learned of her past, digging deeper into her heritage. Her lineage mattered more than mere bloodlines. Each story painted a picture of hope and resilience, a powerful tapestry she yearned to weave. Yet, as the days unfolded, so did the shadows lurking in the corners of Castle Draconis. Betrayal rippled through the air, whispers of dark plots, schemes born of jealousy and fear. Kira felt an urgency to uncover those dark designs. She could not stand idly by while enemies swirled at her feet. But what would she uncover? And would the truth lead to liberation or doom? The web tightened, and Kira knew one truth. She had to prepare for whatever storm lay ahead. As the first light of dawn painted the sky, her resolve crystallized. With Valdrin beside her, she would fight. This was their beginning, and the battle for power and acceptance was only just unfolding. Their journey would determine not only their fates, but the future of every Lycan, a legacy waiting to be reborn. The days melded into nights as Kira and Valdrin navigated the complexities of the pack and their newfound bond. Each encounter with Roderick fueled Kira's determination, a relentless fire in her gut pushing her forward. They trained together in secret. Under the glow of the moonlight, she learned to harness her powers, the shadows bending to her will, coiling around her like trusted friends. Their sanctuary was a hidden grove, lush and alive with the whisper of leaves. Each session brought them closer, revealing layers of vulnerability and trust. Kira saw glimpses of Valdrin beyond the king, his longing for connection, the weight of leadership pressing down on him like an anchor. They shared laughter, their voices blending amid the rustling branches. "Tell me about your past," she urged one evening, leaning against a towering oak. "What made you the king you are today?" Valdrin paused, the flickering candlelight illuminating the contours of his face. He looked at her, a silence stretching between them, heavy with unspoken truths. It was never the title. It was the responsibility that came with it. "What did you lose?" Kira pressed gently, sensing his reluctance. "Everything," he replied, his voice a low rumble. "My family, my friends, they fell to betrayal. People I trusted turned on me. I swore I would protect my pack, even if it meant making tough decisions." Sadness etched into his features, and Kira felt the pull of his pain. "But what about your happiness? Is there space for that?" He studied her, the shadows of the grove deepening around them. "Happiness feels like a distant memory. Until you," he faltered, searching for words. "Finding you. It's like the light has returned. But these dark clouds linger." Her heart raced, warmth flooding her core. "We'll face those clouds together," she promised, fueling the connection blossoming between them. She felt an electricity crackling in the space they shared, an understanding deepening with each passing moment. "Then we will gather allies," Valdrin said, his resolve hardening. "We need support for this fight. The council won't listen until they have no choice. Safety comes first, even if it means forging unlikely alliances." The quiet determination in his voice fanned the flames of hope within her. "Where do we start?" Days flowed into a blur of strategizing and gathering intel. Kira and Valdrin explored the castle, seeking out those among the pack who shared their vision, a call for change. Some were willing, others, not so much. The council convened at twilight, voices rising and falling like distant waves, the atmosphere thick with underlying tension. Kira observed from the shadows, heart pounding in her chest. The council consisted of age-old members, those who clung fiercely to tradition and protocol. Roderick stood at the helm, the mastermind weaving chaos into the topics debated. "Her presence among us is a danger," Roderick argued, sweeping his gaze across the room. "You all saw it. She wielded shadows like they were toys. Do we want to risk the stability of our hierarchy?" "A challenge of authority," an elder chimed in, gray hair flowing like a river. "There are laws against rebellion. We cannot tolerate such defiance." Kira stiffened, fists clenched. She felt Valdrin's presence beside her, a comforting weight against her side. "That's exactly why I'm here," he said, stepping forward, eyes fierce. "We're at a precipice, and it's time for change. The past stifles us. We cannot breathe." The pack shifted, murmurs rippling through the air. A mixture of fear and curiosity hung thick. Valdrin continued, "We must adapt to survive. I say we support Kira. With her strength, the future is bright." Kira blinked, feeling the energy pulse through her. The weight of his trust sent sparks through her veins. But was she ready? "And if she fails?" Roderick snapped, anger boiling over. "If this so-called power corrupts her? I would rather take that risk," Valdrin said fiercely, "than live in fear like mere ghosts." A debate ensued. The room divided, voices raised in passionate arguments. Kira surveyed the scene, heart racing. Were they truly on the cusp of change? Would the pack accept her or reject her fervently? As discussions heated, Kira stood tall, feeling the urge to speak rise within her. "What if instead of fearing, we unite? We rise together, a pack fueled by strength rather than fear. Do you wish to remain shackled? Or do you want to grow?" Eyes turned toward her, silence falling like a blanket. A few faces lit with understanding, while others twisted in disdain. "Enough of this!" Roderick's voice boomed, venomous. "Shadows can cloak our very existence, Kira. This is not a game." But Valdrin interjected, firm, passionate. "It's not a game. It's fighting for our future. Kira can lead us into that future." Their bond surged, a palpable heartbeat guiding Kira's courage. "Let me prove what I can do," she implored. "Trust me, just this once." The council paused, a breath hanging heavy in the air. Would they take a chance? Would they dare to evolve? After what felt like an eternity, one member spoke up, a younger wolf with an aura of hope. "I believe in change, in new ideas. She can show us a better path." Kira's heart surged at the unexpected support, visibly infectious. Others chimed in, heads nodding in agreement. The tide shifted. Roderick glared, but dissent had taken root. As the council concluded, the flickers of unity ignited hope within the pack. Kira's resolve solidified. This was just the beginning. Later, Kira and Valdrin stood in the clearing, illuminated by the moonlight. "You were incredible," Valdrin said, a proud smile on his lips. Kira felt the warmth spread in response to his praise. "I couldn't have done it without you." The shadows danced around them, swaying with a life of their own, and Kira could almost taste the dawn of a new era. They shared a moment of understanding, strength radiating between them, but the shadows of Roderick still lingered, threats lurking beneath the surface. Kira couldn't shake the feeling that this was merely the calm before an inevitable storm. She glanced at Valdrin, the man who had become so much more than a king. "Whatever comes, we'll face it together." "Yes," he agreed. A fierce determination set in his gaze. Always together. The fire of courage burned in their hearts, unwavering as they stepped into the shadows, ready to shape their destinies. But Kira knew one truth. The fight was far from over, and challenges awaited just around the corner, dark and foreboding. Would they be strong enough to face the tempest? Or would they crumble under pressure? The answers twisted in the shadows, beyond their reach. The story was far from finished. Tension thickened in the air as the days blurred into weeks, each moment fueling the brewing conflict within Castle Draconis. Kira could sense it, the shrouded anticipation of a storm. Roderick had retreated, but his presence lingered like a bitter fog, ominous and foreboding. The council was restless, churning with unease and uncertainty. Each gathering transformed into a battlefield, filled with heated discussions about honor, loyalty, and the consequences of embracing change. Roderick was relentless, rallying allies and twisting the narratives in his favor. Kira and Valdrin's bond deepened amid the chaos. They strategized, aligning the remaining council members who believed in their vision, weaving alliances fragile yet significant. Each new voice in favor sparked hope within Kira, but she couldn't ignore the gnawing tension. One fateful evening, as Kira trained in the hidden grove, shadows swirling like a tempest around her, the air crackled with an unsettling energy. She focused on honing her abilities, trying to calm her racing heart when a voice shattered the quiet. "Kira." Kira turned, startled. It was Valdrin, his expression taut, urgency etched in every line of his face. "We need to talk. Now." "What is it?" she responded, concern tightening her throat as they walked deeper into the shadows. Roderick is planning something. I overheard him speaking to several council members. His tone was low, serious. They're gathering forces, plotting a way to undermine our efforts, and it could get dangerous. Kira's stomach dropped. What do? We confront him. We cannot let his threats fester. He needs to know we're not afraid. But first, we need to ensure our allies are ready for what's coming. I intend to assemble them in secret. Together, she affirmed, nodding. We'll face him, head on. Right, Valdrin said, a flicker of hope igniting in his gaze. It's time for a reckoning. They moved quickly, a sense of urgency propelling them, gathering their supporters under the cover of night in the castle's lower chambers. The air buzzed with anticipation as Kira stood before their faces, each fierce and determined. Tonight, we stand at the precipice of change, she began, her voice ringing clear. Roderick seeks to undermine our unity, to silence our vision, but we refuse to be tucked away in shadows any longer. Murmurs of agreement echoed around the room. Kira felt the heat of solidarity flowing through them, igniting the fire within. Together, they would challenge the suffocating grip of complacency. Valdrin stepped forward, his voice powerful, laced with conviction. Roderick believes he can divide us, but he will soon learn the strength of a united front. We will face him, challenge him, and— He paused, letting the weight of the words sink in. Claim our right to lead. The air charged with determination, each nod of agreement amplifying Kira's resolve. They planned their strategy. Confront Roderick during the next council meeting, reveal his treachery, and demand accountability. But she also knew that Roderick wouldn't back down without a fight. As the sun sank below the horizon, Kira felt the weight of uncertainty pressing down. Would they be strong enough to withstand Roderick's retaliatory strike? The next night, Kira, Valdrin, and their assembled allies entered the council chamber, hearts racing. The atmosphere was electric, laced with palpable tension. Roderick stood at the center, flanked by his loyalists, his expression smug and self-satisfied. What is this? A circus? Roderick's voice cut through the room, dismissive. Do they think mere numbers can trump power? Valdrin stepped forward, unwavering. What you call power is rooted in fear, Roderick, and that fear is your greatest weakness. Oh, how noble, Roderick sneered. And tell me, what power do you draw from unruly children? Kira clenched her fists, fighting against the frustration that churned in her. We are here to stand against your tyranny. You cannot silence us. Not now, not ever. Ah, the Omega comes to claim the crown, Roderick mocked, eyes sparkling with contempt. Foolishness only begets chaos. Kira took a step closer, feeling the energy shift around her, shadows swirling in response. The only chaos lies in your attempts to stifle change. Enough of your games, Roderick. This ends tonight. Photons of doubt glimmered in the eyes of the older council members, yet other younger faces reflected hope. Kira felt the tide shifting again, harnessing the strength of their unity. With a swift motion, she summoned her shadows, the tendrils coiling protectively around her, flickering with a life of their own. You claim right over these people, but you forget they have the right to choose? We choose unity. We choose strength. We choose our future. Before Roderick could respond, tension crackled in the air. One of the council members, emboldened by Kira's declaration, stepped forward. I stand with Kira and Valdrin. We have the right to join this new vision. A ripple of murmurs spread through the pack, uncertainty and support colliding in the charged atmosphere. Roderick's face twisted in fury, the heat of the moment igniting the darkness within. I will not stand by and let this rebellion tarnish our legacy. Your legacy is laced with fear. Valdrin cut him off. It's time for the old ways to fall. We will no longer serve you, Roderick roared, his physical presence resonating with primal fury. You dare! Yet his words fell flat under the weight of unity. Kira could feel the shift in the air, could taste the finality. Each ally around them stood firm, unwavering. I will not roll over for you, Roderick. I will fight. This is our pack, and we will make it stronger. The darkness opened up around Kira, emboldening her, and within that moment, she saw her vision clearly. Roderick drew back, eyes narrowing, fury twisting within his chest. To the rest of the council, he shouted, Do not be swayed by her tricks. Remember the power I hold. Kira took a deep breath, stepping onto the precipice of defiance. Power rooted in fear cannot survive, Roderick. We will dismantle your hold, one way or another. As the air hummed with tension, Roderick's eyes bore into hers. But she stood firm. The council was on the cusp of change, ready to embrace her and Valdrin's vision. Either you step aside or see the consequences, Valdrin warned, voice steady but fierce. Roderick wavered, anger boiling beneath the surface. You think you can defeat me? Trust in the strength of the pack, Kira asserted, feeling the connection. To the shadows, to her allies, to Valdrin. Their bond was stronger than the fear that loomed, ready to ignite into something beautiful. Roderick's expression darkened, and Kira knew they had reached a critical turning point. The tides of power were shifting, and the ghosts of the hierarchy trembled before the light of their united front. What would be born from this confrontation? Tears of hope or shadows of despair? The path unfolded before them, a bittersweet dance between destiny and retribution. Would they rise together, or would tragedy strike, tearing apart the fragile unity they fought to establish? In that moment, Kira could only wonder, but one thing remained certain. The future hung in the balance, ready to ignite with the truth of their rebellion. The atmosphere in the chamber crackled with tension as Kira faced Roderick, her heart racing. You think you wield power, Roderick, but this ends now, she declared, her voice strong, unwavering. Roderick's sneer twisted into visible ire. You believe mere words can challenge me? You're just a pawn with delusions of grandeur. Kira felt the allies around her tighten their stances, ready to stand united. No, Roderick, I'm no pawn. I'm here to fight for my people and our future. Your future ends in ruin, Roderick spat, stepping forward with menace. I will crush your rebellion before it begins. Valdrin joined Kira's side, unwavering. We will not let you intimidate us any longer. The pack deserves a future free from your tyranny. Murmurs broke out among the council members. Fear and curiosity tangled in despair. Kira sensed the shift. Allies drew closer, emboldened by Valdrin's declaration. Enough of this! Roderick roared, his voice reverberating off the stone walls. You think strength lies in numbers? You are fools! Kira took a deep breath, channeling her power. Darkness began to swirl around her. Strength lies in unity, Roderick. We will stand together against your oppression. With purpose, she summoned her shadows, wrapping them closely around her and Valdrin. Roderick lunged, but they remained firm, shadows acting as a shield. The chamber erupted into chaos, voices raised in defiance. Hold your ground, Kira cried. Together we can wield this strength. The shadows thrummed with energy, intertwining with those of her allies. Kira felt the bond between them strengthen, fueling her determination. We're standing for what's right, not cowering in fear. With resolve, Valdrin stepped forward. Your reign of fear will fall, Roderick. We will face you and your cowardice. Kira couldn't shake the hope igniting around her, and she let it fuel her connection to the shadows. We will make a new beginning, but you have a choice, Roderick. Join us or face the consequences. The council fell silent, eyes glued to their king who struggled with the intensity of Kira's challenge. Roderick glared, anger simmering beneath a facade of control. Do you really think you can manipulate me? He retorted, struggling to regain his composure. Kira met his gaze, unwavering. This isn't manipulation. It's an invitation to reclaim your humanity. You have the power to choose your path. Roderick's expression faltered for a moment, revealing the internal battle within him. Kira pressed on. Stand with us, and together we can reshape this pack into something stronger. It's not too late for redemption. The air was thick with tension, anticipation crackling. Slowly, Roderick drew a breath, his gaze flitting around the room, gauging reactions. Kira felt a trickle of hope as uncertainty flickered in his eyes. Perhaps you're right, Roderick muttered, his voice quieter now. I may have misjudged the strength of this pack. A murmur of disbelief filled the room, a wave of cautious optimism sweeping through the gathered wolves. With a nod, Roderick finally surrendered, the shadows around him relaxing as he acknowledged their coalition. Then I will lead, not as a tyrant, but as part of this pack. Cheers erupted from the assembly. filling the chamber with a chorus of hope and unity. Kira felt the warmth of acceptance radiating among them. They had fractured the chains of fear and begun to weave a new tapestry of resistance. The council was no longer a shattered relic. Together, they were reforging their destiny. As the applause swelled, Kira exchanged a glance with Valdrin, pride flooding through her. Roderick had embraced change, standing now with the pack. This was the dawn of a new era, one built on trust and unity. They had ignited a flame of hope, and Kira felt the shadows dance with life around them. If you enjoyed the story of Kira and Valdrin as they forged a new legacy, subscribe for more epic Lycan King romances. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a story. And remember, unity is strength. Thank you for listening.